Okay, we're going to get going tonight. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Winnetka Village Council regular meeting for November 1st, 2022. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Ask everybody to turn off your ringers, please. And I'll ask Rob to do a roll call for attendance.
Trustee Kripe?
Yes.
Trustee Handler?
Here.
Trustee Dearborn?
Here.
Trustee Dahlman?
Here.
President Rins.
Here. Okay, item 2 is the Pledge of Allegiance. I'll lead us this evening. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would have been sooner, but I didn't want to speak.
Well, now you have to stand up and say the pledge all by yourself.
I thought you were over there kneeling.
Okay, public comment. This is the time of the evening where anybody in the room can come up to the podium and share your thoughts with Village Council on any item that is not on the agenda. So if you're here to speak about the Preservation Awards or help me out here. Bertling Lane, or there's one other thing, right?
And the ambulance.
Oh, and the ambulance.
Yeah, fire.
And the fire contract.
Yeah.
So if you want to talk about anything but that, you're welcome to come on up. Seeing none, I will close public comment for the evening and move along. Okay, item 5, presentations. The 2022 Preservation Award presentation. Community Development Assistant Planner Chris Marks is here to present the 2022 Preservation Award.
Good evening. I'm Jack Kolodarchi, and I'm the chairman of the Landmark Preservation Commission. And I'm here tonight to make our 2022 award. And this is one of the best parts of the job, where we get to talk about a saved property rather than having to do a demolition. We talk about somebody who's taken a property and repaired it and put it into beautiful shape. And you'll see from the slides how pretty this house is. It's been a rough couple of months at the commission because we've had so many demolition permits. And I often joke, half jokingly, that we're the hospice for houses in Winnetka. And we have a commission full of people who love old houses and who dedicate their lives to restoring or saving or repairing. And it's hard to have the couple of months we've had where I think we've had maybe 10 demolition permits roughly, which is a lot for us. So it's not as bad as it was in the 90s, but still this is an absolute pleasure to present this house and the owners and the architect who did make another choice. This is, so the award categories, and this is more informative. We just have one category today, which is rehabilitation, but there are 3 award categories. There's the first one called restoration, and that's the project restores a property to its original appearance using original plans and required research. The project may be a full-scale or partial restoration. An example of a partial restoration would include replacement of an asphalt shingle roof with original roof material, or the restoration of a porch to its original condition. The second category, which is what we have today, is rehabilitation. The project is sympathetic to the building's original design. Original plans and research materials are not available, but the project upholds the spirit of the building style, using use of materials and finish. Room additions or garages represent examples of rehabilitation. And the third category is new construction. Emphasizes the project's compatibility with its neighborhood. In this respect, issues regarding style, massing, scale, color, trees, and context to adjacent properties feature in consideration. And we get fewer of those when we do get them, but again, today's is rehabilitation. Now, the property is 811 Cherry Street, And I think if you can see it from the pictures up there, you'll see the before and after on top and bottom, and then some interior pictures showing you what a pretty property it is. I would say normally if a property like this came before the LPC, we just look at it and go, oh, someone's going to tear it down, because they don't see the value in it, or they don't understand how living in an old house is actually not that bad. We've had people say that, where they've said, oh, I've never lived in an old house. We just move in, we gut it down to the studs, or we tear it down, or whatever. And when you say things, well, did you try rewiring some things or something like that? A lot of the people who come before us say no, but in here, they've done a beautiful job. If you look at that front porch, that's just gorgeous. That's just a lovely, lovely addition to the street. And if you walk by it, you'll see it looks really, really great in the neighborhood. And again, this is what we are trying to do at the commission, is get as many people as we can to choose something like this rather than a tear down. And again, just beautiful, beautiful work. The owners are Kathleen and Ron Hamburger, and the architect is Dave Whittick of DSW Architects. Let's see, are they present? Oh, Ms. Hammer, come on up.
Thank you. My husband's in Florida.
Lucky him, just after a hurricane.
And I don't think, Dave?
Yeah.
Oh, I've never met you.
No.
You know my son Ryan, you know Ryan. My son lives on Asbury, so, yeah. Okay.
Well, thank you both. Thank you to the whole group of you for restoring, for rehabilitating this property and saving a beautiful property for Winnetka and preserving the character of your neighborhood. It's enormously important for us to try to save as much as we can.
Yeah.
And so thank you from the bottom of our hearts for doing what you did.
Thank you.
We hope that the process wasn't too difficult or hard.
I
or
think I
anything like
see
that.
most of you that helped me either the first time or the second time or the third time around, because it did take a few times to. So for those of you that don't know, I'm Kathy Hamburger. I moved here from Naperville. My kids live in town in Hubbard Woods. My grandkids live in Hubbard Woods. So, and I lived in Naperville my whole life, raised my kids there. So this was a kind of a shock to me because I never lived in an old house. Always new properties, but I loved this house and wanted to put a porch on specifically so that I could meet my neighbors, and when people would come by and walk their dogs, you know, they could stop and say hello, have a cup of coffee, have a glass of wine, whatever. So I love it. It's great, and I'm happy to be here, and I appreciate the award and the support, too, from the council, because those of you that, I know it wasn't easy, but you're welcome to stop by. It was all worth it, so I really, really appreciate it. And I don't know, Dave, if you want to say anything.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Good job.
Great job.
Thank you.
I want to make sure my husband knows I was here. Because where's my plaque, Chris? You promised my taxes wouldn't go up, right?
I made no promises on that. All right.
All right, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
Well done.
Yes.
Well done.
Well done, Dave.
And thank you, Jack and Chris. It's
Yeah.
You're welcome, thank you.
okay. Moving forward on to item 6, we will go to reports. First is trustees. We'll start with Rob. Any report, Rob?
No report today.
Andy?
No report.
Kim?
No report.
Bob?
No report.
And Tina?
No report.
Okay, village attorney.
No report tonight.
Village manager?
No report, thank you.
And village president, no report. Okay, item 7, approval of the agenda. Does any trustee wish to remove any items on the consent agenda for a separate vote? Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve the final form of the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Item 8 is the consent agenda, and I'll ask the village clerk to read the items on the consent agenda.
Thank you. Approval of Village Council minutes, the September 20th, 2022 regular meeting, October 6th, 2022 regular meeting, and the October 11th, 2022 study session, and approval of the warrant list dated October 14th, 2022 through October 27th, 2022 in the amount of $2,377,740.32.
Great, thanks, Rob. Okay, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda by omnibus vote?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Trustee Kreip.
Yes.
Trustee Dahlman.
Yes.
Trustee Dearborn.
Yes.
Trustee Handler.
Yes.
Trustee Apatow.
Yes.
That motion carries. Thank you. Item number 9, ordinances and resolutions. Ordinance number M14, 2022, Bertling Lane, Hill Road, and Woodland Avenue pathway vacation. This is a public hearing and introduction. The property owners have jointly requested the vacation of the public pathway so that it may be incorporated into the land area of each of their respective parcels. I am now declaring the public hearing on the pathway vacation is open. Community Development Assistant Director Brian Norkus is here to review the case for us.
Thank you very much. This matter has been discussed by the council previously, beginning in September of 2021 and then again on April 12th of 2022, where the council went into closed session in order to discuss the possible sale of land owned by the village. The initial request that was first reviewed by the council came from one of the 4 abutting residential property owners. The residents living at 443 Hill Road were the initiators of this request, which the council initially looked at in September 2021. After the September 2021 closed session, or at the September 21 closed session, staff reviewed the history of the pathway, including its closure in 1998. The council authorized staff at that time to reach out to the remaining 3 abutting landowners in order to determine their willingness to participate in the proposed vacation and reallocation of the land. The council discussed the expenses associated with this property transfer, which included the preparation of an appraisal, a plat of vacation, plat of re-subdivision, county recording fees, and perhaps the most significant cost item, the cost associated with removing the existing concrete sidewalk and the associated restoration work. At that time, it was also noted that there are electric utilities as well as an active 20-inch storm sewer line that run within the existing pathway, and sale of the property to the adjacent residential owners would require the reservation of a utility easement in favor of the village for both existing and future utilities. Due to the small size of the pathway and the anticipated village expenses associated with the transfer, the council agreed that the land would be transferred subject to the receiving property owners paying a proportional share of the village expenses to share the land. The brief history of the pathway, this pathway was first established with the original subdivision of the neighborhood in 1913, the Trier Center neighborhood subdivision, which is highlighted in red in the image on the screen. The pathway was dedicated to pedestrian travel at that time in 1913. As I mentioned earlier, the pathway was closed in 1998 following receipt of a petition from neighbors in the area, in part to address loitering issues. The council voted on November 17th, 98 to make the closure of the pathway permanent at that time. With the council's authorization to proceed, staff reached out to all 4 abutting property owners, and 3 of the 4 agreed to participate in the project. A 4th owner at 163 Bertling was supportive of the permanent closure, but elected not to participate in the property transfer. After determining the level of interest from the abutting neighbors, staff procured 2 plat documents. There is a plat of vacation, which would formally release the property from the public ownership, and following recording of the plat of vacation, there is a plat of re-subdivision which would formally merge the land with the associated nearby residential owners. As Village President mentioned, the purpose of tonight's meeting is in part to conduct a public hearing regarding the requested sale of the property. We have published notice in the Winnetka Talk as well as mailed notice to neighbors within 250 feet. As of this evening, we have not received any written comments regarding the request. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions for Brian? I have one. This may be one of the last times you appear before us.
This might be the last time.
Brian will be moving on to greener pastures soon, and
I think the residents of the Bertling Pathway are happy to see this finally wrapping up. It took a long time. They've been very patient with us. And
with you?
With me, yes.
Well, we will definitely miss you, Brian, for sure.
Thank you.
I mean, it's been a long
I'll
ride.
miss Winnetka too. It's been a great community to work for.
We've had a few yucks along the way too.
Yeah, some. Some laughs, some tears.
I've always appreciated your honesty as well, Brian. So.
Chris, on that note, and I mentioned this to Brian, when we first moved to town here back in the mid-90s, probably within a year or so, he gets a call from my wife, and we're very consistent about our street and so on. And Brian will remember this, he came over or whatever, and we were upset about the light at the Baird Warner thing. And I think, Brian, you said something like, yeah, this is the first time I've had to deal with something like this or whatever. And so, of course, Brian, the way he works, digs into the ordinances, and sure enough, that light was grandfathered to have electrification on the outside. We're still dealing with neon lights in town, but some things never changed. But from that point on, and we've had a lot of interactions with Brian, as everyone has, you know, you've got a great way about you. You inspire confidence when people work with you and come to you with an issue. And, you know, that's, as a resident, just speaking as a resident, that is really a great quality. And we're going to miss you, Brian.
I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Great. Anybody else?
Yeah,
Pass it.
I'll just say also, as the chair of the Plan Commission, and we worked together closely for many years, I think you've served our village very well, and thank you for all your public service, and I hope you enjoy your retirement.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure working with all of you.
You're too young.
Yeah.
You're too young.
He's younger than he looks younger than he is.
It's those boyish good looks.
Yes.
Can I ask you a question on the project?
Sure, go ahead. I mean, we're it's
Well,
open season on Brian right now,
I was
folks.
going to suggest
So.
we name a
A
small
sewer pipe or
path
something
after
after
him,
him.
like we're
How about we
giving-
just the sewer?
The Norcas Path.
We can rename the
Norcas Way.
subdivision plat. I guess
Yeah,
it's
there
not
we
too
go.
late.
But, Brian, that sewer pipe under there, and Chris, just because we're interested in sewer systems and so on, is that fully functioning and functioning well? And where does that go? And where does that come from?
Start with the last question. Where does it go and where does it come from? So the storm sewer, this doesn't show the storm sewer line itself, but it does run within the pathway, the 8-foot wide pathway where that blue call out is attempting to highlight. The 20-inch sewer itself, it's a storm sewer line, it's not a sanitary sewer. It drains almost exactly the properties that are within that highlighted red area. In other words, it drains the subdivision that was platted in 1913. We did have engineering and Public Works both take a look at the condition of the sewer and its age. Public Works has a pretty robust program of televising the sewers to assess their condition, and this one was described to be in fair condition, which it's older, obviously, but it's in relatively good condition. I think from the standpoint of maintenance, the Public Works and engineering staff both advised that they'll continue to monitor the sewer, and rather than it having to be dug up and replaced, they anticipate that the best course of action would be to keep an eye on it and reline it without ever needing to necessarily go in and excavate. Of course, the easement will provide for the possibility of an excavation and replacement if it ultimately becomes necessary, but the Public Works folks think that they can get some more life out of it by relining.
Now, would that wind around and ultimately end up in the Elder outflow? It would. Interesting.
Yep.
Yep, okay.
Others?
No.
No other questions? Okay, thanks, Brian.
Point out, I do know that some of the residents of the abutting the pathway have indicated they will be here tonight, so
Great.
they may wish to speak.
I will open that up for public comment at this point. Would anybody in the audience like to speak on this item? Seeing none, no? Everybody's shaking their head, no. That's, just get the deal done and get out of here, right? That's the way to do it. Okay, there are no public comments. I will then close the public hearing, and we'll move forward. May I have a motion to introduce ordinance number M14, 2022?
Chris, I do have one question. Three of the four residents are okay, are.
The fourth isn't participating in the
And the fourth-
acquisition.
house takes over the full
So he just
amount.
doesn't share.
Right.
The other
Right.
house takes over the full amount.
Got it. Okay.
We got a sidebar going on here. What's-
Sorry, yes, I was asking a question about approval as well.
Oh.
I was noting that it was not noticed for approval.
Can we just move to adoption?
What's the, it says public hearing and introduction. So the way this would work would be introduction tonight, and then we go on consent for next meeting.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
We don't have to talk about it again.
It wouldn't be.
Yeah, it would be consent.
Okay, may I have a motion to introduce ordinance number M14, 2022?
So moved.
Second.
Voice vote, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that motion carries, and we'll be finished with that in 2 weeks at the next meeting. You don't have to come, it'll be on consent, so.
So just to clarify, you will approve it in 2 weeks, but you can't approve it here in the session?
It's a Open Meetings Act issue on the agenda. We're not allowed to do both because the agenda just says that we're gonna do introduction.
We won't sell it to anybody else, though.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks very much.
Okay, moving along, item B is resolution number R113, 2022, which is the purchase of an ambulance for 2024. Due to manufacturing delays and lengthy build times, staff is requesting an approval to order a 2023 Ford F-550 Horton ambulance. And our Fire Chief, John Ripka, is here to review. Thanks for coming out tonight,
Thank
folks.
you, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye, Abby.
Brian, before you go, I've had the pleasure of doing fire prevention in the village for 14 years, and Brian Norks has been the constant through the whole time, so he's been a great champion to work with through all the fire prevention and community development stuff, so I would be remiss if I didn't at least acknowledge you as well, so you've been a great partner.
Brian, are you retiring because the Dearborns kept calling you, or are you?
I don't do it. I don't do it to anyone.
I've been
Thank
told I
you.
have to keep the cell phone so I can keep getting.
That's good.
Rob and I are in negotiations.
We have a lunch scheduled for later.
Thanks, Brian.
See you, Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
John, you really know how to clear out a room.
I know, I guess not as interested in the ambulance as I was hoping they were going to
Yell
be.
fire.
Path is more interesting.
So some of this may be repeat. We talked about a lot of this at budget, but just to be official. So again, in 2012, we did our apparatus replacement schedule, 20-year replacement plan with Rob and Chief Burkowski at the time. Plan developed to probably space out our ambulance. You probably remember I talked about a little bit, the engines were 4 years apart. We need to come up with a plan to sort of space those out and not get stuck buying engines and ambulances in the same year or, too close together. So as you mentioned, significant manufacturing delays are causing, problems with getting ambulances. So tonight I'm before you to purchase a 2023, which will be built as a 24 or 25, which will align with our replacement plan. As you mentioned, a Ford F-550 Horton ambulance. This was on the Northwest Municipal Conference Purchasing Cooperative. For 2023, just if I could just talk about some of the vehicle improvements that we'll be getting on this new ambulance that we don't have on our existing 2012 that we'd be looking to trade in. So there's additional safety restraint systems that include collision airbags as well as side impact airbags and rollover protection for the attending medic and the patient area. There's a new thing for ambulances that's really neat. It's a UV light that comes in the back of the ambulance. It's for disinfection mainly came out of COVID. They found UV lights really, kill the virus and bacteria. So we're having that mounted in the back of our ambulance. It's kind of a newer technology, it's really nice. Right now, we're spraying everything down every inch of the ambulance to try to, clean. So in conjunction with that, we can run this light. Four-wheel drive assist to help with inclement weather, snow and ice. Liquid rear suspension, which helps with vehicle stability, but more importantly, it has a softer ride for patients on being transported to the hospital. There's a nice component now. It has a 360-degree view camera that's almost like a bird's eye view on the ambulance. So if we're operating at a scene and we need to move the ambulance for any reason, the driver has this, can activate this camera and then see all 360 sides around the ambulance so that, you can look for obstructions or people. Additional lighting in the patient area, so just additional LED lighting for patient assessment. There's a nice part that has electronic privacy glass. So right now the windows on the ambulance, if we have a patient in the back, anybody can walk up to the ambulance and kind of look in. There's a switch now that we can activate the switch. It kind of fogs out the window, so it provides some additional privacy for patients. Some soundproofing in the cab area to help with noise reduction, and a 4-point harness in the back of the ambulance for the medic to put on when they're transporting the patient to the hospital. So the new ambulance as designed and spec'd, like I said, the 2023 as designed is $356,201 with the trade-in of the 2012 MedTech Reserve ambulance. We'd be getting $12,500 for that, for a total cost for the ambulance being $343,701. Capital budget for this item was $350,000, so we're coming in just under that. We will need a little bit of that additional money for lettering and logos on the ambulance. But that's all I have for that. I'm happy to entertain any questions you might have on the ambulance or the trader.
Great. Any questions for Chief?
So $12,500 for the current ambulance. Seems like so you don't, it's a different vehicle, so it doesn't really, there's no parts, it just seems like the throwaway amount of money.
Yeah,
I mean, you guys are car guys, don't you want another car? I mean, 12.5.
Well,
so
what they do is they completely
I
recondition
know.
these things and then send them to a department that's not fortunate enough to be able to drop $343,000 on a new one,
They make a really cool camper van.
That's what
I would imagine.
I was thinking about that.
But this is the reserve ambulance. This isn't the frontline ambulance.
Oh.
So this is the one that's in reserve currently.
Right.
So it's what, 2012? I think you said?
2012, yeah. So another part of that is, so we have a power load and power cot system. That system alone combined is about $60,000. So we're taking that out of the reserve ambulance and putting it in our new ambulance, because we had it installed 2 years before this for the reserve ambulance
That's
went in
what I was-
reserve.
yeah,
So
I
it's
know
still
you've been
fairly new.
retrofitting this.
So that's
Yeah.
a significant amount of money we're taking out of that to put into our new ambulance.
Okay, good.
So new ambulances as designed with that are well over $400,000.
Okay.
So that drives some of the cost down. And in reality, used market on ambulances and engines it's not there.
Well, I get it, I know, but it's like
Yeah.
12.5 is like, wow, okay.
Other questions?
I just have a question on the pricing. So we're ordering it now. Do we lock in the pricing even though it may be a 24 or 25 model year? Or is it
It's a
gonna be
2023 model, that's what I was
Yeah,
getting at.
is
Right,
it
it's-
23 but delivered in 25?
Correct. We're
Okay.
buying it now, and we're buying it as the 2023 model.
Okay.
It won't be built till 24, 25, so it will be the 24, 25 model. The price they're giving us now is locked in.
Okay.
The only thing he can't lock us in is on chassis increases. It's locked in at this rate. If it increases above, I think he said 15 or 20%, he will come back and request. He doesn't anticipate that happening. If it does, then it gives us an opportunity for me to come back to you and say, look, this is the price increase, and we can decide if we want to move forward. But the way it's been going the last year, they don't anticipate that happening. So.
Okay.
Do we not get rid of the other ambulance? They don't take the ambulance now. when we trade in, is it?
Right, it's part of another reason why it's, a little lower is he knows he's not gonna get it for 2 years.
Got it.
So, yeah, we need to keep our reserve.
That's what I
Yeah,
want to make
so
sure we're
it's-
keeping.
Yeah,
our
we're keeping
reserve.
it,
Okay.
yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I had.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Okay, back to script. Would anybody in the public like to speak on this matter? Seeing none, I'll close public comment. I was waiting for the police officer to jump up and see if he could get in on the action, and maybe.
We want something.
You guys want a truck too while we're at it?
Throw
Your
it in.
turn.
Okay. All right, may I have a motion to adopt resolution number R-113, 2022?
Second.
Roll call vote?
Trustee Dearborn?
Yes.
Trustee Apatow?
Yes.
Trustee Dahlman?
Yes.
Trustee Handler?
Yes.
Trustee Kripe?
Yes.
That motion carries, thank you. Okay, moving along, item C, resolution number R-114, 2022. This is renewal of the Kenilworth Fire Service contract, which is for adoption. The village has provided fire services to the village of Kenilworth for a long, long time. How long would you say, Rob?
100 years.
100 years.
At least the 30s.
And has recently negotiated an extension to the agreement through 2030. Fire Chief John Ripka is back at the mic to review this one.
Yeah, so as mentioned, we've been providing fire protection to Kenilworth since at least the 1930s. That's as far back as we could go. And we've been doing EMS services in the 70s. In return, we charge Kenilworth an annual fee for these services, kind of helps offset the cost of the fire department. It's really been a great example of intergovernmental cooperation and sharing resources through municipalities for a very, very long time. The current Winnetka Kenilworth Fire Service Agreement is expiring 12/31/22, the end of this year. Some of you are probably aware Kenilworth had received a proposal from the Village of Wilmette to provide these similar services. Cost savings, the cost was significantly less than our current fee. After significant negotiations with Village Manager Bayhan and Village Manager Brennan, we were able to negotiate a new agreement with Kenilworth. The new contract has a 7-year term. It has a one-time cost reduction of $75,000 for 2023, and then each subsequent year of the contract will have an increase of 2.5%, and this will go through 2030. Overall, the resetting of the contract with Kenilworth is manageable as our fire department staffing levels are designed to serve Winnetka and would remain constant regardless of whether agreement was in place or not. This agreement has been approved by the Kenilworth Village Board last Monday, the 24th, and with council approves tonight, we would be good for 7 years through 2030. So,
Okay, questions?
John, if you had this, and they've approved it, so we can talk about it, I guess, but if this was a standalone business unit, just Kenilworth on its own, what would our P&L look like on this business?
what do you mean?
Would we be making money? Would we be, whatever the contract is, I don't see what the revenue is, it's 300 some odd thousand a year? 400 some odd thousand. Are costs related to this? You say we're still profitable,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
but are we 50% profitable? Are we, how would you characterize the profitability of this business that we provide in Kenilworth?
So, are you trying, to understand your question, so are you asking if
How much money are we making on the deal?
Or is it worth our time?
a call in,
What's this
Kenilworth
worth
is
our
probably about 8 to 10% of our calls volume.
Okay.
The cost for a call in Kenilworth is very close to the cost for a call in Winnetka, meaning if you broke down the call per type, it'd be very close. It may be a little bit less in Kenilworth than it would be in Winnetka, but it's fairly close. So, what are we spending to do that? As part of this, we also do their fire prevention. We do hydrants, just sort of things to, increase that cooperation. So, to put a number on it, I don't know. I know it's beneficial to us to do this.
It is.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I suppose that if one was to really look at it in the way I'm thinking about, you'd have to take into account depreciation of assets and, 10% of your truck expense, your ambulance and so on and so forth is going toward this. But you're saying your direct costs, make this very profitable.
I would suspect our head count and everything wouldn't change if we didn't have
We're
this.
spreading our
because
expenses
it's-
over this
right.
volume.
So it's not as if we didn't do this, I suspect it's not like all of a sudden we could go down one person or have one less piece of equipment. So it's just
Right.
subsidizing what we have to do for ourselves. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, our
Okay.
staffing wouldn't change. I mean, our model and what is designed for Winnetka. We're, Kenilworth is just additional, responses that we go on. So our staffing model is all designed to serve our village.
Right. Well, there would be a point where it wouldn't make sense. I mean, if Wilmette had come along and said, hey, we'll
Well,
save you
yeah.
$200,000.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there would have to be some kind of analysis at some point where you would say, it's just not worth our time to be doing this. And what you're saying is that a $75,000 reduction from a long-standing contract is still well worthwhile to us.
Yes, yeah.
I'm just amazed Wilmette thinks they can get trucks out of those shitty roads up here.
So across the tracks if they aren't pulling from.
Was-
Yeah, I mean, Green Bay Road, I don't know how a fire engine even gets down there through Wilmette. It's so bad.
Was Kenilworth shopping, or were
Yeah,
was
Their,
Wilmette-
yeah, their council had expressed an interest in, because it hadn't, they hadn't tested the market in some time, so they opened it up for proposals. I had received a call from the manager saying, we want your proposal. And I said, thank you very much. We're not going to bid against ourselves. Once you get a price, let us know, and if it's something we think we can beat or meet, we'll do our best. And that's essentially how it played out. So at a minimum, it was a $100,000 reduction Wilmette provided. We negotiated it to 75. My sense is Wilmette would have gone significantly lower to get the contract and then try to keep it for a long period of time, because they wouldn't have adjusted their staffing either. Just like our staffing is scaled to Winnetka, it's not Winnetka plus Kenilworth. We can handle it, especially with the mutual aid agreements that are in place. So that's kind of what was at play. This is the first time that that's happened since I've been here, but John reminded me that's happened once before, maybe 15 years ago or so.
Yeah, 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It cycles up every 20 years or so, it seems like.
Yeah.
It didn't go to a second round.
I didn't take it
of
personal.
negotiations?
They would prefer to stay with us. That was the message we got, but they also had to do their due diligence and say, okay, how do you reset the contract?
It's like going from the varsity to the JV in Wilmette. I mean, you got the varsity here. Why would you want to go there?
Well,
They-
We've got a good department in Wilmette too. As a former Wilmette.
Sorry, I like ours better.
I had several conversations with Village President Cecily Kaz on this too, and she was forthright and just echoing their concerns that they were interested in getting a reasonable deal. I will say that the last contract had all sorts of components to it that got very rich as we got deeper and deeper into it.
Yeah.
And the contract was due for an adjustment anyway. We are so integrated into their, John, your department is so integrated into Kenilworth. It's their fire department too. I mean, you guys go out and do the school things and,
It's on our
all the
package.
events and the block parties, and I mean, so it really is their, and it would have been a shame to just lose it, for what, in my mind, when we were looking at it initially, would have been to be piggish about it. So we went back and recast the deal in a fair manner, and we have a good partner here, and we don't have to change anything. So I think it works for everybody at this point. I would have liked to have seen a longer term.
Yeah.
They weren't so hot on that, so we just, we arrived at the 7 years. I was pushing for a 10.
Yeah.
But just couldn't get him to come there, so.
We historically were 5, so we did get 2 additional years
Yeah.
that we normally wouldn't get. So.
I'm not sure what I would have guessed if we asked what percentage of our calls were Kenilworth calls. I don't think I would have guessed 10%. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's 8 to 10.
8 to 10.
Yeah.
Varies.
Interesting.
All right, other questions?
That's good.
Public comment? Nope. We'll move forward. May I have a motion to adopt resolution number R 100, 2022? Is that right?
That looks
R
right.
114, 2020.
114.
114.
Oh, mine says 100.
114.
114?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, may I have, thanks, Andy. May I have a motion to adopt resolution number R 114, 2022?
So move.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Trustee Apatow?
Yes.
Trustee Kreip?
Yes.
Trustee Handler?
Yes.
Trustee Dearborn?
Yes.
Trustee Dahlman?
Yes.
That motion carries. Thank you.
Yeah,
You just-
I got it. Yeah, sorry
We're
about
fine.
that.
Okay. That was item 9. Item 10, old business, there is none this evening. Item 11, new business, there's none this evening. No appointments, no closed session. And item 14 is adjournment. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We stand adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.